Good morning, I'm Mabel Jung, and you're watching continuing coverage of the World Healthcare Congress here in Washington, D.C. We're day 2 into the event, and I'm so pleased to have with me now Kim Tuck, who is President and CEO of NurseWise. Thank you so much for joining me, Kim.
Thank you, Mabel.
Well, a little bit of background on NurseWise, please.
NurseWise is a 24/7, 365 nurse advice line. We have multiple call centers throughout the U.S. and we're available to all of our Centene members who are primarily Medicaid. And then we also have external clients that utilize our service for their members. Okay. As an example, we have about 1.5 million lives that we cover in California.
Right.
So we're there when their physician office is closed or they have a question and they're not really sure of the answer. It's an attempt to get them to the appropriate level of care as opposed to just going to the emergency room, which is what most people think of when they feel it's an emergency and they don't really know what to do next.
It seems like an amazing resource to be able to have someone literally at your fingertips by dialing the phone.
Yes, it's an awesome resource, and nurses, typically come out at the top of the list of most trusted professionals. So, there's a lot of credibility behind nurses. It's more of a conversation as opposed to the type of interaction you would have with your physician, so they're more comfortable. Mm-hmm. We have algorithms that are computer-based and, nationally recognized that were developed by a physician and a physician panel. So they are, science-based, and they allow us to go through the symptoms that the person is calling about and with them decide what the acuity level is and then where the appropriate level of care would be.
Okay. Give me an example of some of the calls you might get on a given day. So
we receive a fair number of calls from parents of young children. It's typically the cough, fever, vomiting, diarrhea, those sorts of calls, and they're just really scared because children are small and you don't want to mess them up. Mm-hmm. So
or make mistakes in
absolutely
their care.
They're it's a great way to have somebody to kind of help you talk through it, give you some options. So small sips of water if they're experiencing vomiting, or small sips of 7-Up, those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. How to ease a child back into eating as opposed to not just not feeding them. So it really can avert some other crises, because small children, if they are vomiting a lot, would get dehydrated perhaps.
Right.
And a fever is always a concern for a parent. Typically a fever of less than 105 is not considered an emergency for a child, but if it's your child and their fever is 101 or 102, it's an emergency to you. So we're able to help them talk through that, give them some strategies to get the temperature down, some things to look for if the child is getting worse. Mm-hmm. So they don't, you don't give them advice and then leave them to their own devices. And we always encourage them to call back if they have other questions.
For follow-up calls. Now, how is this paid for? Or is this part of the plan that that's offered with the regular coverage?
So it's part of the regular plan coverage. The member does not have any payment obligation. So all of our Centene health plans, they provide it as a value-added benefit. And then our external clients view it the same way. If you're an NCQA accredited health plan, you do have to have a nurse advice line that is available 24 hours a day. So that's kind of a need.
And how many calls on average do you think NurseWise gets in a week?
Well, in a week, I would have to do the math, but hourly we get about 450 calls.
Wow, that is a lot of calls.
That is a lot of calls.
And it sounds like this resource that is so readily available can really avert bigger problems down the line, and potential patients could avoid going to emergency rooms.
Absolutely.
Or more serious doctor visits. Is that
correct?
Right?
That's true. The corollary to that is we often will have people who call who are experiencing chest pain that they've been calling indigestion, and through some questioning, no, it really is a serious issue and they need to seek emergency services because, the number one sign of a heart attack, for instance, is denial.
Wow.
So, that's
makes
the other
sense.
side of it.
It does make sense. How do you find your nurses? Who are on these calls?
We do recruiting through online resources. We also work with different nursing societies. We do a careful screening process, so we do a in-person or by video phone screen. They have to do some standard testing, so they have to have some customer service skill testing. They have to be able to talk and type.
That's interesting. So you can actually see the nurse you're speaking with
Yes.
sometimes?
Yes.
How does that happen? How does that work?
Through a video camera.
Fantastic. Now, is there a special training that you do? You were just saying that there are certain ways to address issues over the phone or on video
Right.
screen, so there's special training for this.
There is. So the first 2 weeks are very intense and very computer focused, but then we pair them up with a mentor who's someone who has good quality scores and has been with the organization for a while, and they continue to proctor them through their journey. We do have curriculum that's based on the AAACN, which is the American Academy of Ambulatory Care Nursing. There is a special module for telephone triage. So that's the curriculum that we follow. And then we also encourage our nurses to become accredited through that organization. So they're accredited in the specialty of telephone triage nursing.
Okay. What is the next stage of growth for NurseWise, do you think? Anything planned on the horizon?
We are starting to do a lot more clinical outreach programs, so education programs for correct emergency department utilization or, HEDIS care gap closures, things around educating pregnant moms to, for their good prenatal care. So getting a lot more into the medication adherence and the health and wellness components of the healthcare system.
You're moderating a panel today, Kim.
Yes.
What are some of the answers that you're personally interested in?
They're talking a lot about value-based purchasing, and I think one of the most intriguing answers I would like to see is how is value defined and who is defining value. We have a lot of metrics. We have HEDIS measures, we have STARS measures for Medicare, but what measures are really indicative of quality? How do we tie quality directly to a measure so that we know that whatever we did was increasing somebody's quality as opposed to everybody's just kind of going through a different set of hoops and hurdles.
Okay, Kim Tuck, well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Mabel.
I've been speaking with Kim Tuck, President and CEO of NurseWise. I'm Mabel Jong. Thanks for watching.